supply demand thing, Umar. If unfortunately the need is not there, then the banks will not provide that service. It's as simple as that. When we looked at, producing a financial product, one of the things we said is that our community will use it. Now, if our community don't use it, then it's an extra product for.
If you go through the halal mortgage now, because we've seen there's been a decrease amount of finance, Al Barak Bank, etc., etc. A lot of the Islamic banks that have been on the high street, or the high street banks that offered Islamic mortgages, they no longer provide that service anymore. We've seen it. What it did happen for a little while, but now it's been reduced even further.
On a supply demand thing, Umar. If unfortunately the need is not there, then the banks will not provide that service. It's as simple as that. When we looked at, producing a financial product, one of the things we said is that our community will use it. Now, if our community don't use it, then it's an extra product for that financial institute, which it doesn't need. For them, they have to have literature for that product. They have to have staff trained for that product. So just bringing one product onto their portfolio means an investment from their side. But if they feel that they're not getting returns on that investment, then they'll just think, well, there's no need to do that. And the reasons why they may not be getting returns on that investment is because of the fact that people may not be using Islamic mortgages for that fact that they may not be able to get the deposit together, and that might be one of the reasons why the value starts to go down. It's very similar to kind of the whole stunning and unstunned food. When you're having to when you stun animals, you can slaughter more animals. It's quicker. The process is much quicker. Whereas when an animal is unstunned, the process is slower and time is money. So if you are now slaughtering less animals, then the value per pound of animal goes up, which means then you have to push that cost on, because the abattoir is not going to take that cost, or the slaughterhouse is not going to take that cost. So it adds it to the distributor. The distributor is not going to take that cost, so it adds it to the supplier or the shop. And the shop is not going to take that cost, so it adds it to the final product to the customer. So the customer has to pay. So when the customer is thinking, well, hold on, I can buy that chicken there and that chicken there, but one is unstunned and one is stunned, but I'm paying an extra 80p a pound, £2.50, then it does take that little bit of, taqwa or whatever it is, where that person thinks, actually, you know what, I'm going to pay that extra bit. And a more general example is free-range eggs. Now, we know as Muslims, we shouldn't really be supporting caged hen eggs or buying caged hen eggs. Why? Because an animal, according to the Sharia, should be left to be an animal, free to walk around. Now, if you see caged hens, it is despicable circumstances which those hens are born in, live in, and eventually dying, and what they're fed. But, how many times have we gone into the store and we've seen free-range eggs and we've seen normal eggs? It doesn't say caged hens, but when they're not free-range, that's what they are. And we see that one is a pound, £1.50, £2 cheaper, we pick up the eggs which are not. So these decisions are always there, but I guess it's a small test, isn't it?
We've started on there are some options in the market for Muslims. Unfortunately, those options that we thought was going to fly through the sky hasn't happened. We're in an institution that is overarched by powers that are not in favor of our principles with regards to avoiding riba, etc. So we have to make do with what those are, and only the scholars can say that, not the common man who says majburan, we're in this position, so we need to. No, you can't make that judgment, because you are not the scholar, you are not the faqih, you are not the one who's trained in that. So in relation to that, you are saying the £20,000 or the 20% that is required for the deposit. These companies have looked at it and not seen it valuable for their product, e.g. Lloyd's, Amana Finance. It doesn't really exist anymore. Then you've got other Al Barak, they don't wish to have any more new customers on board. So they're just trying to persuade people to come out of this so that they can close that door off, because they've got their foot in the door already, what they had previously, and now moving forward, they don't want to have any of these products in their system, and it'll go back to the Bank of Ireland, and that will be that with that. But in relation to what we're saying here is it is what it is, right? And we've got some principles that we've got to abide by, and we've got to be a little bit more look into our own selves and say, this is my faith and I'm going to stick to it. Allah knows what the situation is, and he wants to test and see who's going to stay strong to their faith and not take these other options that are excuses or whatever they want to call it, to not go down that route, because we know that within that route it's categorically against our faith.